So welcome everyone to Lights on MOR. Today we're going to talk with author and scholar Yan Zhang, who's a professor in psychology at Peking University. And we'll be talking about her MOR paper, Authoritarian Leadership and Extra Role Behaviors, that she published with Yun-Hui Xie. Welcome, Yan, and I'm excited to talk to you and hear more about your research and how you produce this scholarship. So if you're going to look at this study and say, what do you think is the most important part of the study for you?
Yeah, I can recall my thoughts at that time. I mean, years ago. Here's kind of a dilemma. One is that authoritarian leadership is not that welcome. I mean, it's not that people do not like authoritarian leadership that much, but the leadership is very popular. So why so? And at that time, I would like to seek the negative effects of authoritarian leadership to say, see, this literally is not good, and try not to learn that. So I demonstrate that authoritarian leadership discourage employees also be.
So you're hoping your research can help make it clear that it's a bad style to have.
It is popular does not mean it is very bad. If it is very bad, it will not be there. So it has some positive outcome, I will sure. Yeah, and it is also hard to decide which type, but you can add other leadership in your style, and maybe can composite the negative effects.
Can you elaborate a little more on why authoritarian leadership creates the kind of role conflict that you were able to document, and the role overload? What is it about authoritarian leaders that produces that effect?
I have some explanation in the paper, so I will not go into that detail, and I will explain it from another perspective. Authoritarian leadership may indicate certain kinds of the role of man in China. And this is another characteristic in China, I think. And this frame, role design could be unclear. Or it can be clear, but people do not follow it completely. So Chinese leaders may likely extend the power boundary to non-work role domain, and you may know that well. And moreover, they may be more likely to view work holistically rather than view each employee differ in their job responsibilities. Maybe you all must be responsible to our collective or our groups. So authoritarian leaders are much likely to send requirements that surpass employees' role requirements.
How did you had to get data that was, of course, the employees, several employees talking about, a manager and filling out the perspective from both the employee and supervisor role. Was that hard to get the data?
I normally collect the data under the help of part-time undergraduate students when I guided their thesis. They will ask for the permission from the company, their own company, particularly when one student who has worked for 3 to 5 years, they will have much authority to ask to do this. And then they, together with my students, collect data on site. Normally, because they are undergraduate level, so I will divide them into groups, and maybe 4 to 6 a group, and then their data, each one may reach 150 to 250 employees.
Do you have a chance ever to give feedback to the participants about the results of your study?
Some of the companies ask for the reports, ask for the kind of consulting reports. I don't think employees will be have such curiosity in knowing the results, but our students, my students, are curious about that. And normally, I not only talk about the results after that, but talk about results before this data collection, about my previous results. They are very interested in that, and also many times the conclusion I get often captures the reality of of their companies. Yeah.
So do they actually talk about experiences of authoritarian leaders and its impact on their job?
Normally, they don't tell me what kind of leadership. When I see the data, I say, "Oh, your company seems like the middle top managers are not very cohesive." How do you know? Then they will talk with me further about the reality.
Well, I noticed that your paper was cited a lot and downloaded a lot. What do you think has led this paper to be so popular?
I would think authoritarian leadership is one important Chinese leadership, so that Chinese scholars are very familiar with and likely to investigate. Yeah, that's one reason. Another is that I would think maybe most of my model, this model shows a very holistic view, and that view may fit the cognitive frame of Chinese scholars, so they may like this paper.
If you're going to think of who inspired you most to get to be a professor, is there any either professor that you worked with that inspired you, or any particular author that inspired you?
I would still think my supervisor is most helpful to me. For example, I think this is the most important for all scholars. I think do not let practical difficulties to restrain your thoughts.
Who was that advisor?
An Cui.
What advice would you give to young scholars?
Doing good research, or that good means you have many readers and many scholars like your research. It's not as difficult as you imagine, I think. So just work as hard as you can and try your best to reach impossible.
That's a great way to put it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, and good luck on everything.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you to Ray for your time.